Hey everybody, welcome back to Video So Teknoparrot series, the Unported playlist, where I take a look at my favorite unported arcade games of all time. Today we're playing San Francisco Rush 2049 Special Edition. And yes, I am very well aware this has been ported to Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, GameCube, and PlayStation 2, but I'll explain why it's unported in just a moment. But when I say this is one of my absolute favorite arcade games of all time of any genre, I 100% mean it. I put more hours into this game across this version and the Dreamcast version than pretty much any other arcade racing game ever made. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But 2049 does everything I need out of an arcade racing game. It brings over the San Francisco Rush physics and handling engine, and I think those, while very unique, are some of the best of all time. They upgrade some of the tracks from San Francisco Rush, give you some new ones, some amazing shortcuts, and just some absolutely insane driving. Now I know I said earlier this has been ported, and that is true, but every single port is based upon an inferior version of this game. The courses and some of the things inside of them were watered down for the Nintendo 64 version, and it seems like every single port has been based off of that one. So if you want the full fat Rush 2049 experience, it is the arcade version and the arcade version alone, and some of the games seem to change the physics around as well, and all of what this game is the handling engine. I just remember the first time I saw San Francisco Rush in the arcades, and then the first time I saw Rush 2049 arcades, I absolutely fell in love. Gigantic big air jumps like that going across the entirety of Lombard Street in San Francisco just sold kid me on how much this game was good, and I still to this day consider it one of the best arcade racing games of all time. All of the shortcuts, all of the fun, all of the explosions just make you happy from start to finish. Even after so many years of this coming out, I can still sit down and play this game for an hour or two and have an absolute blast, and I love what 2049 did with the San Francisco Rush formula. It took everything about the games that was great, expanded upon them, put it in the future, and just kind of changed up the graphics a little bit. Obviously LA Rush exists as well, but I do not count that as part of the series, and I do not recommend anyone play that game. It is an inferior title and definitely should just be discounted. But the shortcuts in this game are what truly matter. Look at me jumping across this entire section of road here, and even if I don't get a perfect landing, I still save so much time. And I will scroll back in just a bit and show you the alternate way you could have gone, the way the course wants you to. Finding shortcuts in San Francisco Rush 2049 is the difference between getting a first place finish and an 8th place finish. Taking the main road takes so much longer than sailing over the entire thing. And obviously the sense of spectacle and wonder is just so much more when you're like 100 feet in the air jumping that car. Although I will say my one complaint about this game, even on easy difficulty against the computer opponents, getting a first place finish is damn near impossible. The developers did not want you to get a cup, they did not want you to see a checkered flag, they wanted you to get like 5th or 4th place and then want to come back and play more. But honestly, trying to actually get the first place in Rush 2049 isn't where the charm comes for me. I would be happy just to do a time attack on this. It really isn't you against the opponents, it's you against the course itself. Finding all the shortcuts, understanding how to maneuver your car, picking the car that works for you, and just trying to get around the actual racetrack, because I did dial down the timing on this a lot for the capture. On default settings, you're going to run out of time a decent amount until you basically get perfect at every course. But that's what I love about this game, the learning curve. Getting an idea on where every single shortcut is, where you want to start your turns, picking your racing line, and trying to get better at the game is where all of the action is on this one. We'll see here, 7th place finish, not the best, not the worst, but I will take it. And of course this game has a fun soundtrack as well. It's that classic San Francisco Rush music, which is to say it's nothing memorable, but it definitely drives the gameplay forward. It does give you that sense of action and impact that you're looking for, but it's definitely no Daytona USA soundtrack. So go ahead and listen for 45 seconds, and I'll come back and show you a lot more spectacle of Rush 2049. But enjoy. The soundtrack, the drum beats, the engine noises really sell the intensity. You'll see there I totally careened straight into the side of a building. The shortcuts are definitely risk versus reward. If you take them correctly and you run a clean line, you're going to save a ton of time. If you're even a few degrees off from perfect, you're going to explode yourself, and all of that time saving is going to be lost, and it's going to send you even further back than if you had just taken the normal raceway. And you'll see there being able to jump above the road again. This is what I am here for San Francisco Rush on. This is what charmed me about the game in the first place, just a sense of exploration and figuring out where you can go and what you can do. Honestly, I don't even usually play this game the correct way sometimes. I will try to basically just pick whatever racing line I want, and I treat it like it's me versus the course versus me versus the racers. Because that is where the fun comes in. Just throwing your car all around the course, jumping it, finding shortcuts, just doing the most asinine things is where this game really shines. It's almost like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, except it's a racing game versus a skateboarding game, but that same sense of just pure fun when you pick a clean line and do something absolutely incredible, that sticks with you. I remember the first time I experienced it in arcades, and I'll remember it the entirety of my life so long as I'm still playing arcade games. And even there, riding that car up against the wall, picking these shortcuts, it's just so much fun. I'm not even playing now, I'm just doing the voiceover, and I get hyped just to see what's going on screen. Shortcuts like this, I should have driven up on the wall, I forgot it's been a minute, and I drove directly into that wall and I had to restart myself. But this is where the fun truly is. This is just the most over-the-top arcade racing game I've ever played, and it's why I keep coming back to San Francisco Rush, and why I would really love to have a new game in this series doing the classic things. I mean, we got a new cruising game, why not get a new San Francisco Rush game? But at this point in time, I have no idea who actually owns the franchise, and maybe they don't know they own it either. But the other thing I love about 2049 is how they've taken the San Francisco Rush style graphics and modernized them both on the hardware front as well as the style front. This is set in the future, so you get a lot of fun graphics as far as the colors are concerned, and because these boards use 3DFX hardware on them, you get that classic 3DFX arcade look, which looks slightly different than you would get on home computers, but 3DFX always had a very particular style of 3D, and Midway and Atari utilized that as much as they could, and that is why their games look so iconic. Obviously something like Model 3 was a lot better looking than this board when it was on the arcade floors, but this is still as an iconic of a look as the Sega Model 3 hardware ever had, as far as instantaneously being able to recognize what type of hardware you're looking at. And when you marry it to an incredible game like Rush 2049, you really can't do anything wrong. And I have been looking for an original arcade BCB of this game for a long time now, but I can't find any of them working. And honestly, these boards are a little tricky to repair if you don't know exactly what's broken. So I've basically been putting off actually acquiring one of these. But this is the type of game, the minute I find a working board, it is going directly into my collection. I will wire up a pedal and wheel set to it, and I will play it as much as I possibly can, because I just absolutely love this game, even when I huck it into a wall and blow up. But one more taste of the soundtrack just so you get a sense of what 2049 sounds like, and I'll be back, we'll close out the video, and I'll tell you a little bit more about why I think this is one of the best arcade racing games of all time. The music just works so well in context of the racing, and I totally understand that we do get some modern arcade racing games, Forza Horizon being one of the preeminent franchises, and while I do love that game and it does have the over-the-top sense and flair, there's just something about it that doesn't sell itself. I always feel like those games are just slightly too easy, and even when I'm doing massive jumps in them, I don't get the same impact and feel as I get from something like the San Francisco Rush series. If you have any ideas why that is, leave me a comment down below, because even I'm not sure. Every time I'm playing something like Forza Horizon, I'm just thinking about maybe going to play San Francisco Rush in the back of my head. So that is my message to anybody out there that works on Forza Horizon. If you're listening to this, just take this formula, marry it to Forza Horizon, call it San Francisco Horizon 2069, and I will buy it twice just to make sure it does good sales. But short of that, this is San Francisco Rush 2049. Yes, it's been ported to a lot, but this is an instance in which the arcade original is the best way to play, and in my opinion, the only true way to play. But we are done. I'm going to blow up one more time, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.